On March 12th, 1937, Central Missouri State wins the very first National Basketball Tournament, which later forms into the NAIA, which today is the second largest college athletic organization in the country. Here's the story behind the NAIA, today on Daily Sports History. Welcome to Daily Sports History. I'm Ethan Rees, your guide to a rapid deep dive into sports history every day. Now, the NAIA stands for National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics, and it all started in 1937 when James Naismith, the creator of basketball, and some other local leaders in Kansas put together a tournament for basketball. It was known as the National Intercollegiate Basketball Tournament, and it happened in Kansas City, Missouri. I know you might think, well, didn't James Naismith create basketball back in Massachusetts? Yes, he did, but later on he took a job teaching and coaching the Kansas University Jayhawks and was their very first basketball coach. This tournament that they held in 1937 was the first of its kind to try to stage a national championship for basketball. This was 2 years before the NCAA had a tournament. At the time, the NCAA was more organized around football. James Naismith, of course, always loved basketball, as it was his creation. So he put together a tournament, and 2 years later, the NCAA followed with their own tournament. But seeing as the NCAA was more focused on football, they wanted to form an organization for basketball, and that's when they formed the NAIB, the National Association of Intercollegiate Basketball, to help schools that were more focused on basketball than football. And the one thing that NAIA was always known for was being innovative and being ahead of everyone else. In 1948 was the first time they allowed integration into college basketball. It was the first time anyone did. At Indiana State, Clarence Walker, coached by the legendary John Wooden, played in the NAIB tournament, which Indiana State left the NCAA because they would not allow him to play. Then in 1952, they changed their name to the NAIA because they were adding other sports. They introduced golf, tennis, and track and field. And then 4 years later, they would add football. Then the next year, 1953, they were the first collegiate organization to invite historically black institutions to be members. And in 1957, one of those historic black colleges that was invited, Tennessee State, won the national championship. Always being ahead of the pace, in 1980, they decided to add women's championships along with their men's sports and added 9 women's championships. Again, ahead of the NCAA. In 2000, they adopted the Champions of Character, emphasizing character development among their student athletes. In 2014, they started to do a showcase to allow athletes better chances to connect with coaches to get recruited. And in 2019, they were the first also to add name, image, and likeness for student athletes. Now today, the NAIA schools offer over $1 billion in scholarships and have over 240 members and continuously are adding members to this day, with over 80,000 student athletes participating, with sports that include baseball, bowling, cheer and dance, cross country, lacrosse, football, soccer, golf, tennis, volleyball, wrestling, and track and field. You may not know the NAIA very well, because they're mainly for smaller institutions. The NCAA grew far larger than the NAIA ever did, because their focus was more on football than basketball, as it was more established at the time and allowed them to get more tractions with bigger state schools that you see today. But smaller private schools that wanted their own way chose the NAIA, because the difference is they're more flexible and willing to adapt to changes quicker, as we've seen, as they were the first to allow African Americans to play and allow women to play. But that doesn't mean there aren't great players that have came out of the NAIA. Basketball Hall of Famers Willis Reed and Scottie Pippen both played at NAIA schools. Football Hall of Famers Mel Blount, Walter Payton, Bill Parcells, and Jim Thorpe all attended NAIA schools. And they have multiple gold medal Olympians that attended NAIA schools. Now, if you don't know much about NAIA, today there's a structure in college that's kind of broken down is you have the NCAA Division I. Those are the ones that are on TV all the time. Your Alabamas, your Notre Dames, USCs, those are the big schools. Those are Division I's. They give out most scholarships, full rides to their players. Then there's Division II. This is a smaller division, and they don't give as much scholarships, but they're still scholarships institutions. And they can give just a few more scholarships than the NAIA. And the NAIA allow for scholarships as well. And they are on par with Division II in NCAA on competition level. These teams do play each other every now and then, and it does allow for great competition. And then there's 3 in college in the NCAA, which is our schools that offer no scholarships at all, just the opportunity to play sports again. And those are generally seen to be just a little under NAIA in competition level, but the higher levels, such as Wisconsin Whitewater or Mountain Union, who win championships every year in football, can compete with higher level NAIA or Division II schools. That's kind of the breakdown. And the NAIA is kind of looked down as a great opportunity because it doesn't focus so much on what you did before. They allow for people that struggled in high school academically the chance to continue their education, which is great because some of us didn't learn well or weren't in the right situation, and this allows you that chance. So their academic standards aren't as high to get in, but you have the chance to do better while you're in college. And I think that's why a lot of these institutions join the NAIA because it's more flexible and they can allow more students to join. And it's a great organization that continues to grow. Thank you for joining us today on Daily Sports History. I hope you enjoyed this and tell a friend to come listen so you both can talk about all the history you're learning. Come back tomorrow for more Daily Sports History.